In this presentation, we'll be looking at how we gather basic router information using the show commands. In either of the two router modes, the user exec mode or the privileged exec mode, we can gather information about the system's hardware as well as the system software. And we do this by using the show commands. In either mode, at the router prompt, if you type in show, followed by a space and then a question mark, you get a listing of all the available show commands. Any configuration that can be done on a Cisco router has an appropriate set of these show commands. Without this set of show commands, configuring as well as troubleshooting any configuration would be very difficult. Now let's run through some of the most useful show commands from the privileged exec mode. And remember, all commands in the user mode are also available in the privileged mode. And we're going to start off by going into the user mode. I do that by hitting enter. And then from there, I'm just going to type in SH. This is abbreviation for the word show. Then I'm going to type in a question mark. That brings up the short list of all the available show commands that we have available to us in the user mode. From here, I'm just going to back this off, and I'm going to type in EN for enable. And then from there, we're going to get a prompt for the password. I'm going to type that in. And now we're in the privileged executive mode. Now I'm going to show you the extensive list of show commands that we have available to us in the privileged executive mode. And we have about 3 screens to go through here. So anything that you can do in the user mode, you can still do in the privileged executive mode. Now we're going to start off with some of the most basic and most popular of the show commands, and that's going to be, let's start off first with the show start -config command. Now I'm going to start off by showing you a shortcut using the context help. And what we're going to do here is we're going to use the tab key to finish a command for us. So let's say that I know that I want to see the current startup configuration of this machine, but I don't know the complete command, and I don't know, for instance, that there's a dash between the start and the config. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to do a show. I'm going to type in STAR, and I'm going to hit the tab key. And that brings up the complete command for me. So it shows startup -config. Now all I have to do is just hit enter, and that brings out the readout. This is quite a bit of extensive information. This show startup config command shows us the configuration that will be used the next time the router is reloaded, and also shows us the amount of NVRAM used to store the startup config file. The abbreviation for this command would be show space start. So I ran that again for you. So most of the commands do have an abbreviation, but I got to warn you, if you're thinking about taking any exam for Cisco, abbreviations will not be allowed. You're going to have to know the entire command. Alright, let's get on with some more of these popular show commands, and we're going to do the show version next. And I'm going to type in the entire command. I'm going to hit enter. This command gives us a good amount of information, such as the iOS version you are currently running, the available interfaces, the system uptime, the last reload reason, and the configuration register setting. Interestingly enough, you're going to have to know this particular readout quite well for any exam that you take with Cisco. And they might ask you what the current configuration register is, or they might ask you what was the last uptime for this router, or what is the flash file name. They could ask you just about anything. For instance, they might even ask you what the 0x2102 register actually is, and you're going to have to know what that part of the register is used for. Now from here, we're going to do in some more. We're going to type in some more show commands. We're going to do this show IP route. Now the show IP route command is an old standby which displays the entire routing table. And the next one we're going to do is the IP route summary. So we're going to type in show IP route summary. And this gives us a nice summary of each interface from the IP level. Okay. Now let's do the show IP interface brief. Now this command here gives us a very brief summary of each interface and what's actually going on at this time. Now you can see that it says that all my interfaces are administratively down and the protocol is currently down. That tells you that there's nothing configured on these interfaces on my router and that there's nothing attached to any of the interfaces. So if you saw that, you'd know that you didn't have a cable attached, nor did you have any configuration going on. Now I've tried to show you a list of some of the most useful shell commands, but as you can see the list is long and varied. You'll need a good understanding of these for the Cisco CCNA exam, but only the ones most useful and the ones most commonly used.